tell me you're no good. I'm brushing away, the weight of you, of my shoulders. Done with my cigarette, and when all the smoke is clear, I'm brushing away the weight of you, the weight of you. Don't need an Omen.
What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video coming at you with Nidus Prime. What's the difference between the regular Nidus and Nidus Prime? Well, nothing. Prime Warframes are just cosmetics. A cosmetic that you would never use if you have good Tenogen and fashion. But there is one difference that the Prime offers, making them easier to farm than the regular variant if they have annoying farming requirements like Harrows, Defection, Equinox farming several pieces for her, you know. And in this video, I'll go over some tips and tricks on how to utilize this kit and maximize your damage output and of course survivability. So let's get started. We all know that Nidus has a very synergistic kit where all of his abilities synergize with one another and they have a purpose to be used so you can empower the next ability. But in this case, I decided to work with a different synergy, and that is replacing his second ability with ENSNARE from Korra. If you're wondering why, let me explain. So with ENSNARE, you target one enemy and that enemy will gather more enemies and clump them up all into one pile. They will be incapacitated and unable to do anything. But guess what? You can have more than one instance of these clumped up enemies, unlike LARVA, because with LARVA you'd either have to wait for it to finish its duration or use the second ability augment. But with ENSNARE you can have multiple instances of grouped up enemies, and you can bring them all together by using some utility arcanes like Exodia Hunt, which is a Zaw arcane, or Magus Anomaly, which is an operator arcane. But wait, there's actually more. You know, when you cast Parasitic Link on an enemy to give you that damage redirection, you can use that linked enemy as a catalyst for your ENSNARE. Oh yeah, there is a bit more. You know, the enemies that have survived during your ENSNARE session, they can pull in more enemies with a percentage of the remaining duration. So you see how busted and synergistic this helmet ability is. And it doesn't require you to use an augment just to give it mediocre toxin damage just so you can recast it. And ENSNARE targets are all standing, which gives you clear headshots. So if you want to use something like Teeming Virulence, which is his first ability augment, to give you those crits, and you want some crazy headshot multipliers, then ENSNARE is a better choice. But just for a clear visual representation, I'm going to take the same build, one using ENSNARE and one using LARVA, just so you can see the difference in damage and utility and versatility. All right, we're going to use ENSNARE. Drag all these guys together, drag them in more. You can use our first ability facing the wall, towards the wall, and guess what? We can move them even more. ENSNARE that target. Drag these guys together. Now we have a bigger clump. Look at that. Use our Parasitic Link. We can use our Parasitic Link target to ENSNARE more enemies. And we can go ham with our guns or melee. And guess what? We can use Exodia Hunts, ENSNARE, drag in more enemies, and use our weapons. Go crazy. We don't have to worry about duration or anything. We can ENSNARE this target. We can ENSNARE that target. We can ENSNARE that target. Drag them all in together. Look at that. So much utility. Let's not forget about Magus Anomaly, Exodia Hunts. Very, very, very synergistic and has a lot more utility than LARVA. There's one good thing about LARVA. You can aim it wherever you want and it will pull in enemies. But the downside is you have to wait for that duration to go down before you can cast it again. There's no synergy with Exodia Hunt, no synergy with Anomaly. You can't get a clear headshot on enemies who have been clumped up. And sometimes if you aim it in a certain direction, right, it can still mess up and target something else. So you'd have to be careful about that. drag him in, face the wall, press 1. Here in this setup, I'm using the lava burst augment just so I can recast it. And that just ragdolls enemies, which is quite annoying. And I did replace teeming virulence for this augment. So it's a horrible band-aid fix. Hey, look, I can actually recast the ability, but that toxin damage isn't going to do anything if it doesn't get multiplied or the enemy armor isn't stripped. So it's kind of a useless band-aid fix. So yeah, this is the reasoning why I replaced his second ability for something better, like ENSNARE. All right, here we are in the simulacrum. I'm going to show you some nice tips and tricks that you can use when playing Nidus. If you use your 1 stack to activate your third ability, right, it gives you another instance of your first ability. Look at that. Group up enemies. Press 1. Look at that. Helps you build up stacks faster. Right there. And with your first ability active, right, we'll spawn these maggots that attach to enemies. You can see they're taking some damage over time. There you go. See those little maggots right there? If you use your first ability, detonate these maggots, it will help you build up your stacks even faster. Look at that. They're just building up from 1 hit. Hence the synergy right there. The downside with Nidus is that you have to keep on building up your stacks to use some abilities. And if you do die, which is going to happen, right, it's going to consume 15 of your stacks, which gives you some sort of health gating. But still, Nidus is a consistent ability spammer. So here's another cool trick. They're up against the wall. If you didn't know, right, Nidus has to wait for the entire animation to be able to cast his 1 again. And if you have a lot of range, it's gonna take you a while. So if you have him up against the wall, it can reduce that animation, so you can keep spamming that first ability. So drag him in to the wall. Simple as that. Taking a look at the build, we have growing power in the aura for the 25% power strength increase when we proc a status effect, which is going to happen quite a lot. And power strength is just so good on Nidus. We have blind rage and the 2 umbral mods. Yes, I did put an umbral form because, again, why not? We have 269% power strength. Nice. This is going to increase our damage on our first ability, and since we're using teeming virulence, it's going to increase our crit chance. We don't have any duration mods because we don't need them. We don't want to go under 100% but stay at 100%. Why don't we do that? Because Nidus has one of the best duration in their abilities. It already has 40 seconds with base duration. Parasitic Link, a whole minute with base duration, and we get 15 seconds with teeming virulence. That's 322% crit chance increase. Now Avenger adds base crit chance when you take damage. This is base crit chance to your weapons. And teeming virulence is an additive bonus to your crit chance mods. So if a weapon goes over 100% with Avenger, then you're going to get consistent red crits with teeming virulence. Hunter Adrenaline to give us energy back when we take damage, and we're going to take damage a lot, so don't worry about it. Stretch to give us a decent range for our second ability, and Parasitic Link if you want to move around a bit. Adaptation pairs so well with Parasitic Link because if you don't know, Parasitic Link isn't really a damage reduction, but it's a damage redirection. So all the damage that you take will be redirected to the enemy, and adaptation will help you reduce the damage that you send to the enemy. All right, we're gonna drag these guys closer to the wall. Press R1, build up stacks, Parasitic Link, and that person right there is going to be our damage redirection dummy. So all the damage that we're taking right now is going to that enemy right there. Since we have over 15 stacks, our passive is going to trigger. Come on, die. 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 There we go. Undying, which is a form of health gating. So to maintain this buff up at all times, you want to build up your stacks. Once you build up enough stacks, you can use your 3 and keep on pressing 1 on enemies. And that's the whole vicious cycle of being a Nidus player. And we have another trick just to help us a bit more, and that's with using Martyr Symbiosis from our Panzerwolf. Now, Martyr Symbiosis gives us a little bit of health gating. It's for a really short duration. This can trigger just before you take a lethal hit, so helping you save some stacks. But that's for those people who are really cautious about their stacks. So this is a little contingency. Now, we do have Magus Anomaly on our operator, but for Exodia Hunt, I am using the Dogcram Heavy Blade build. Here, it just has a bunch of attack speed mods, right, with a little bit of range, Rending Crane, and Exodia Hunt. Why Rending Crane? Because a simple attack will do slam attacks. So, if we summon up enemies, drag them all in together, press 1. Now for weapons, you can use any primary weapon you want. I like using the Mutalist Cernos, and you can go with the Kuva Brahma, build it for whatever you want. You can go viral, you can go corrosive, it doesn't matter. You can go the Kuva Czar, anything that has decent AoE. You can go for viral, you can go for corrosive, it doesn't really matter. Well, Zymos is very good, especially if you have Avenger on you, since it double dips on crits. And Zymos works real well if enemies are grouped together. That's why ENSNARE is such a good combination. See, all their heads are open. All right, so if we take a little bit of damage, get our Avenger to proc, get a little headshot there, we can get our red crits. Really nice. So if you're using a primary weapon with viral hunter munitions, you can use a secondary which is built for corrosive, so you can just one-shot those acolytes when they do spawn. And that's it, guys. That's Nidus Prime. I do hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something from it. And if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe. For more Warframe content, streams, and so much more, do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.